just in the traffic, or are you pulling somewhere else?
Hello, everyone. Hello, hello, hello. Hi. Hi, Chanel. How are you doing? How are you doing? A lot when you're trying to look for housing. It's just really, really difficult. Hi, Surviving. Hi, Carrington, Sea Star, and Mugsy, Dan and Lita. Hi, guys. Welcome on in. So we've got some tea to sip on tonight and talk about some different things. So thank you all for coming on in. And hi, Millie Mom and Marley and Hannah and Trisha. Welcome on in. We've got lots of tea. So I guess I will go ahead and get us started here and let you all know what we're going to be talking about. So as I told you all before, a lot of the things that we do tie into one another. And when those things tie into one another, it gives us the opportunity to see how all the things that we go through are interconnected. So previously, we talked about healthcare. And we know why we're talking about healthcare, because of the insurance adjuster. So talking about healthcare is really big in the country right now. And it's going to stay that way, especially if you saw the perp walk that was done when he got back to New York, and how it just didn't make sense. You have the mayor of New York, who has been indicted on criminal charges, and has asked the citizens of New York to say, innocent until proven guilty. I want to have my day in court. Yet he walks this man to look him in his eyes as a criminal, not as somebody that gets the same justice, or should get the same justice he is asking for from his own constituents. He wanted to look him in the eye, face to face. And why? Why is it him? What sense does that make? You are charged as a criminal as well as this man. Y'all have the same presumption of innocence, yet you perp walked him in New York City for what gain? There is none, in my opinion. No gain at all. So in doing so, we talked about the next week labor and how that goes into healthcare as well, because we wanted to see if you have a workforce that has good health care, you'll have a good workforce. Let's see. Everett asks, what do you think the U.S. should do about the UAE's shenanigans in Libya and Sudan? Well, that is a very good question. I have long thought that the U.S. should not be involved or have any military bases overseas, as no other country has military bases here. I have thought that all nations need to stop doing any business with the UAE. As we know, they are taking gold and other minerals that they have gotten from African countries illegally. So I think that the U.S. should put sanctions on the UAE if that's the only thing that they do. But as we know that they are part of the system that is working to get those minerals as well, say for instance in Congo, where their Apple and Samsung are getting their minerals from there, the U.S. has their hands in that as well. So it's kind of like, we don't have the people in place in power that are going to say no to the things that they are personally benefiting from in that situation, because they get to have all these trips and things given to them by these other corporations and places, so they're not really going to want to stop that cash cow from happening. So if the U.S. can sanction Cuba, they can definitely sanction the UAE. That would be the least that they could do, and then move all their military bases out of the continent of Africa. Those are the least that they could do. Let me see. Chanel says, I feel like they're trying to scare us with the drones and everything that we have going on here. I couldn't agree with you more. Survivor says, Western intervention is just resource plundering. Absolutely, it is. And the generals, a couple of months ago, they said that we need the resources from Africa, so they cannot leave the continent. And that just goes to show Africa is not poor. Africa is, thank you so very much, Survivor. Africa is mineral rich, resource rich, and all types of things. Africa is not a poor continent. Africa just has leadership issues like anyone else does when they are trying to come out of colonialism. And that is an issue that the UK and the US are still doing, and France are still doing to these countries in Africa to this day. So once there can be an absolutely free Africa from colonialism, and they're able to better do their own government without outside interference, they will be fine. Just like if Haiti would not have had any outside interference, Haiti would have been fine. And Haiti was doing fine for a while without outside interference. And then they came back in because they didn't like how it was done. Everett says, the Congo situation is why I think Rwanda should be sanctioned too. I like to think about where are these countries getting their arms from, and that's where we need to start the conversation at. Because if we talk about who manufactures these things, there are not a lot of these countries. These arms and things are given to them. We see that in situations like ISIS and things like that, where they were armed by other countries, and then we know different things happen. So you have to start wondering, is it Rwanda that should be sanctioned, or is it the manufacturing companies that should be sanctioned and fined when their armaments are in places that are gotten illegally and are being used in these atrocious activities? Because someone is putting it out there, and if the manufacturers are the ones that now get the punishment for it, they will be more careful on what they're doing. That's one of the things that I really think of. Yes, there is a lot of underdevelopment in Africa due to colonialism. However, there were also places that like to remain just how they were because they like to live off the land and they like to do that. And sometimes we do have to remember that as well. Jack says, Haiti wasn't doing fine. What are you talking about? When I say Haiti was doing fine, I don't mean for years and years and decades at a time. That is definitely not what I mean. There are parts and periods in Haiti where they were doing okay, trying to be self-reliant, resilient, not having to have any other country interference. just recently, it wasn't until the reparations issue was brought up by Haiti that this civil unrest they're having started now. Haiti is not perfect, just like any other country is perfect, but Haiti does have good qualities to it that we can look to. And we're always going to look to that because they are the first freed country by enslaved Africans. So if they were given the opportunity to do it on their own, they would be much better. But there are parts in Haiti's history where they have been okay. Not 100%, because there's no country without criminality, but not 100%. Right, Everett. Way back. The issues in present day Haiti go way back. Absolutely. Haiti wasn't free. They simply replaced the masters, quit making excuses. Haiti was free then, and then they were put with an injunction by France to pay them back the reparations for the money that they spent on infrastructure. So Haiti has been under the thumb of another country for a long time because the U.S. also gave them loans for it. What I meant by Haiti being freed is that the enslaved Africans freed themselves. That is what I mean. So, you said Haiti used forced labor since the beginning, quit making excuses. I don't know where you're seeing me make excuses at. I'm talking about what happened in Haiti. I didn't make an excuse. That's a reality. So I'm not sure where you get I'm making excuses. But that's okay. Everybody has their difference of opinion, and things happen. However, when we're talking about oppression as a whole, we say all oppression is connected. And when we say those things, that goes into a broad spectrum, not just in one place, but across the world, because we know all the people who are doing the actual oppressing. And how do we stop that? So the thing that we were going to be talking about today was in regards to the other side of the world, the anti-incumbent wave has reached. Yes, it has. So the thing that we were going to be talking about today is labor. And not labor, I'm sorry. We're going to be talking about criminal justice. So have you looked into who funds the Green Party in the U.S.? Absolutely, I have. I'm one of those people who funds the Green Party in the U.S. because I do pay my dues. The Green Party is a dues-paying membership party in most places, and so when the funding happens, it's from the members. Members fund it. So we don't take corporate donations or anything like that. The ones doing the oppression in the countries themselves quit blaming outsiders. Okay, Jack, if that's how you feel, it's wonderful, that everybody can have their own opinion. So, kudos to you. Yes, if you would like to know who donates to the Green Party in the U.S., you can also look at the FEC filings as well. And when you look at the FEC filings, please pay close attention to it. It is not the corporations that themselves are donating. It might be people who work at certain corporations that are donating, but corporations themselves do not get to donate to the Green Party at all. So if somebody works at IBM, for example, anybody who donates, they have to put their information about their employment up there. So you would see, so-and-so donated so-and-so amount of money and they work at IBM. That does not mean that IBM donated the money. So that can confuse people sometimes because they say, oh, IBM. That is not how that works. We do not take any corporate money at all. And that's just why we are a people-driven party. So when we are talking about criminal justice, that links into how we're seeing this Luigi Mangione case ruled out and go out. Because at the beginning we were talking about the perp walk that they did, taking him into custody in New York. So this whole thing, all of it ties back in together. And you can read more about the criminal justice part of the platform for, thank you so much, Say. You can read more about the criminal justice part of the Green Party platform. It is under section 2, and it would be letter H. Section 2, letter H, for criminal justice. So the reason why this is big for all of us to know is how we separate ourselves from other parties. Because the vast majority of donors of the Green Party donors are Republicans. If they're people and they want to donate to us to keep going, I mean, if you want to take it there, Republicans and Democrats donate to each other all the time, and they also get funding from the same corporations. So, I mean, both sides got donations from AIPAC, and we see how that turned out, even when fellow Democrats were going up against them. So, you know, playing the blame game over where the donations come from, we don't have the kind of coffers that they have, because they do get donations from corporations, whereas we just get donations from people, because again, people power party. So if a Republican says, hey, I like what you're doing over there and I want to donate some money, we don't ask them what their political affiliation is. That is not it. But we do have to ask them where they're employed at for FEC reasons. There are Democrats that also might donate to the Green Party because they like something that we're doing. However, again, they still have more money because they can donate to, they get donations from corporations. So I'm not sure what else to tell you about that. But, you know, go look into where the intersectionality is of the Democrat donors and Republican donors from corporations, and then go look at the laws that have been passed to see, did they work together to do that? Oh my goodness. And all of the Green Party members that we have in office, these platforms and the 4 pillars and the 10 key values, that's what they go off of, not corporate interest. So even if a Republican was donating to us as a single person, because only people can donate, it would not change their platform stance. They would still be Green Party all the way. So the Green Party U.S. position for criminal justice is to reduce the prison population, invest in rehabilitation, and end the failed war on drugs. The United States has the highest incarceration and recidivism rate of industrialized countries, while our nation's criminal justice system is, in general, too often inhumane, ineffective, and prohibitively expensive. With less than 5% of the world's population, the United States locks up nearly a quarter of the world's prisoners. Our law enforcement priorities place too much emphasis on drug-related and petty nonviolent crimes, and not enough on prosecution of corporate, white-collar, and environmental crimes. The majority of prisoners are serving terms for nonviolent minor property and drug addiction crimes or violations of their conditions of parole or probation, while the poor, the undereducated, and various racial and ethnic minorities are overrepresented in the prison population. The negative effects of imprisonment are far-reaching. Prisoners are isolated from their communities and often denied contact with the free world and the media. Access to educational and legal materials is in decline. Prison administrators wield total authority over their environments, diminishing procedural input from experts and censoring employee complaints. Our priorities must include efforts to prevent violent crimes and address the legitimate needs of victims while addressing the socioeconomic root causes of crime and practicing policies that prevent recidivism. Greens oppose the increasing widespread privatization of prisons. These prisons treat people as their product and provide far worse service than government-run prisons. Profits in privately run prisons are derived from understaffing, which severely reduces the acceptable care of inmates. Greens believe that greater, not lesser public input, oversight, and control of prisons is the answer. Greens call for an end to the raw on rugs legislation of rugs and for treating rug abuse as a health issue. The raw on rugs has been an ill-conceived program that has wasted billions of dollars misdirecting law enforcement resources away from apprehending and prosecuting violent criminals while crowding our prisons with nonviolent rug offenders and disproportionately criminalizing youth of color. Greens also call attention to the fact that more than 40% of those 2.3 million locked down from America's black 1/8. The Green Party recognizes that our nation's ostensibly colorblind systems of law enforcement and crime control, from police practices to prosecutorial prerogatives to mandatory sentences and zero tolerance, have effectively constituted an ubiquitous national policy of racially selective mass incarceration, a successor to Jim Crow as a means of social control, a policy that must be publicly discussed, widely recognized, and ultimately reversed. The nearly universal, though largely unspoken nature of this policy makes piecemeal reforms not accompanied by public discussion of the larger policy ineffective outside the context of a broad social movement. So there are solutions that we are going to talk about, but I did see some things going in the comment section, so I just wanted to address it. So let's see. So Frozen Hot Dogs was talking about Jill meeting with Putin. And I can only assume that you did ask this question in good faith, because over the last few months of the election, this has totally been talked about. She has talked about this openly. Other things have been done. She was investigated and cleared, as Surviving has said, by congressional hearings. So I will answer it in good faith, because I do want to think that that is what you are trying to hear. The photo was taken and it was put into a context that was never there. She never spoke with him. They never talked about anything. She didn't even know who the people were with them. They didn't even speak English, I believe. None of that happened. And she did have to go through all of this with the committees. So not just us, but as we know, when you go to a congressional hearing, if you've ever watched them, they are very, very to the point, trying to get as much information, all the investigation. And if they didn't find anything wrong, because there was no wrongdoing, then us trying to continue that point of her sitting at a table with Putin, well, then I guess we can do the same thing for any other presidential leader that has sat with Putin. That would mean, thank you so much, legal. That would also mean most of the sitting president, former sitting president, and on and so forth. Because they too have had dealings with him and actually talked to him. So this was not even that. And then when she got on stage, she actually addressed why she was there and said that he was doing things wrong. So I really hope, if that doesn't satisfy what you were asking, you can go on Jill Sound's website and actually look into what she said. You can go on YouTube and find a video of her being interviewed about it. And if you want it, if from hearing it from my mouth is not great enough, or the comments in the comments section are not great enough, hear it from her mouth. And that would be enough. You can actually Google the congressional hearings if you would like. So I hope that gives you something better, because like I said, I'm hoping that the question is in good faith, and I want you to learn about it versus just listening to anything else. So now that we talked about our stance on the criminal justice system, okay, we can talk about what's going on and what we see in the criminal justice system. We see that from this year alone, we have seen protesters being, oh my goodness, so disproportionately harmed during protest that they have a constitutional right to do. We have seen tent and encampments at universities being turned into bloodbaths. We have seen so much with the criminal justice system where it seems that the people that are supposed to protect us are not protecting us. So when we are not being protected, how does that work for us? How do we feel when you want to call the emergency number, but you're afraid to call the emergency number because you don't know if you'll live out of that situation? I myself know that, recently I had a situation where it was almost midnight and a young girl came to my door. Now, mind you, I don't live in the city. So a little girl coming to my door in the middle of the night, I'm already suspicious. Because how did you get here and pick my house specifically? So it was a lot of things going on in my mind, but ultimately I chose to call the emergency services because if something were to be happening to her, I would want her to be safe versus anything else, because my family could have stayed in the house without any interaction and we would have been okay. But I chose her safety because I didn't know what was going on with her. And she was a young child, maybe a high school student, middle school student, or high school student. So everything went off and it was okay in that situation. And I'm always thankful and grateful for that. But that doesn't always happen to other people when they have law enforcement called out to their house. It's like they're having a mental health crisis. They have law enforcement come out to their house and they don't make it. Their families never get to see them again. Sometimes they call for themselves because they want mental health treatment and they never get to be seen again. So another thing that we just had, we saw that there was a penalty that could have been overturned by the governor. The governor did not overturn it. He let an innocent person be unalived. I'm going to try not to say everything about the person. However, he actually did pardon a police officer that was convicted of unaliving a black person. Yep, it was Khalifa Marcellus Williams, Imam. Yes, it was. It's in that state. That he did not pardon him, but he did pardon that police officer who there was evidence on. He was convicted, but there was no evidence. And Mr. Williams, Williams should be here with us today. That just goes you how the criminal justice system is. It is not a justice system. So, what are the green solutions that we are talking about? Alternatives to incarceration. We want to encourage and support positive approaches to punishment that build hope, responsibility, and a sense of belongings. Prisons should be the sentence of last resort reserved for violent criminals. Those convicted of non-violent offenses should be handled by alternative community-based programs, including halfway houses, work furlough, community service, electric monitoring, restitution, and rehabilitation programs. That gives us 1. Treat substance abuse as a medical problem, not a criminal problem. Free all non-violent incarcerated prisoners of the raw. Provide treatment to parolees and probationers who fail a RUG test instead of reincarceration. That is very important. If we do end this raw on RUGs and have these things in place and people can get better, we would see a better society. Release prisoners with diagnosed mental disorders to secure mental health treatment centers. Ensure psychological and mental care and rehabilitation services for mentally ill prisoners. Release prisoners who are too old and or infirm to pose a threat to society to less expensive community-based facilities. I like that idea very much so, because yes, people are in prison for life. So if you've been in prison for 50 years and you are barely walking or anything like that, what are you going to do to the community to make it worse? We can put them in a community-based facility and it would be so much better for them. Make reduction of recidivism a primary goal of parole. Treat parole as a time of reintegration in the community, not as a continuation of sentence. Provide community reentry programs for inmates before their release. Provide access to education, addiction and psychological treatment, job training, work and housing upon their release. Provide counseling and other services to members of a parolee's family. That is so important. To help them with changes caused by the parolee's return. Prevent unwarranted search without reasonable cause to parolees in their home. If you have had this situation, sometimes people will bust in there and say, oh, somebody told us you were doing RUGs, and now they're bursting into your home. Not fair, should not be done. And families that are introducing people back into their homes, they definitely should get counseling with them so that they can make this better, especially when children are involved. Increase funding for rape and domestic violence prevention and education programs. That is very, very important, because we talked about that with healthcare. When we were talking about healthcare, we talked about the pricing of a grape kit, and that some insurances do not pay fully for it. So if we increase those fundings, I'm pretty sure that could pay for some of these grape kits, and also the backlog of the grape kits that have been going on for a decade or more. Never house juvenile offenders with adults. House violent and non-violent juvenile offenders separately. Continue the education of juveniles while in custody. Substantially decrease the number of juveniles assigned to each judge and caseworker to oversee each juvenile's placement and progress in the juvenile justice system. 85%, let me see what was said. Just make sure I got everything. Yes, say what said. Facts, better conditions and less poverty means less crime. Absolutely. Surviving said mental health court is very beneficial for sentencing alternatives. Absolutely. Say what said. Recidivism is their intention. It's built into the white supremacy structure of the prison system. That is also true. People don't talk about that private industrialized prison. It is like they have a quota to meet, and if the states don't meet the quota, they charge the states. 85% return with 3 years. The odds are extremely hard to beat. Absolutely, they are. Thank you, Koya, and thank you everybody else for gifting. I saw it. I just was trying to make sure I didn't lose my spot. Then we have prison conditions, prisoner treatment, and parolees. Ensure prison conditions are humane and sanitary, including but not limited to heat, light, exercise, clothing, nutrition, libraries, possessions, and personal safety. meet prisoners' dietary requirements, ensure availability of psychological drugs and medical treatment, including access to condoms and uninterrupted access to all prescribed medication. Minimize isolation of prisoners from staff and one another only as needed for safety. Make incarceration more community-based, including through increased visitor access by family. Establish and enforce prison policies that discourage racism, sexism, homophobia, and rape. And this was my favorite one. Ban private prisons. I love it. Say said, I heard about that one police department that let the kits expire and never got them tested. So many things. Oh, so many things. Yes. Implement a moratorium on prison construction. Redirect funds to alternatives to incarceration. Require that each state prison install a rehabilitation administrator with equal authority as the highest authority. Ensure that all prisoners have the opportunity to obtain a GED and higher education. Education has proven to reduce recidivism by 10%. Ensure the First Amendment rights of prisoners, including the right to communicate with journalists, write letters, publish their own writings, and become legal experts on their own cases. Provide incarcerated individuals the right to vote by absentee ballot in their district of their domicile and the right to vote during parole. They're living among us. They deserve the right to vote. Restore the right to hold public office to felons who have completed their prison sentence. I mean, especially since you have, a former president and president-elect who is a felon. I really think that, we should be restoring rights to hold public office because, isn't he just saying? Gonna throw that out there. Conduct racial and ethnic disparity impact studies or new and existing categories of offenses. Yeah, most state felons can vote. Again, some have requirements first. That's right, surviving, but it really shouldn't even be that much. You're still a citizen and you still need to be having your voice heard. But some states are doing better. I would say that. For criminal justice reform, abolishing the penalty. I'm trying to say it without getting a banana. Repeal 3 strikes laws. Yes. Restore judicial discretion in sentencing and abolish mandatory sentencing. It makes no sense to have a mandatory sentence for anything. Everybody is an individual. That made no sense. And we know who to blame for that one. Establish and fund programs to strengthen self-help and community action through neighborhood centers that provide legal aid, alternative dispute resolution practices, mediated restitution, community team policing, and access to local crisis assault care shelters. Establish elected or appointed independent civilian review boards with subpoena power to investigate complaints about prison guard and community police behavior. Sharply restrict police use of weapons, gun belts, tasers, and the hold around your neck hold. Squeeze, hug around your neck. Prohibit property for forfeiture and denial of due process for unconvicted suspects. So people that are in waiting, it is unfair for them to be able to do things, and we all know that because some people can't pay their bail bond or whatever the case may be, and they're sitting there for however long, and they are not being given this innocent until proven, and it can be for a non-violent crime, and it really does hurt people mentally. Establish freedom on bail as a right of all defendants charged with non-violent crimes. Incorporate mental health and provide child care for service jury duty. That is absolutely isn't a part of the platform because people still have lives, and when you're talking about paying them $8.25 a day, that's not even the minimum wage, and then they still are not able to go to work and they have to find childcare. It's like, wow, how can someone do that? You are doing a service to your country, your state, your city, or wherever it's coming from. But how can you do that if you cannot live? Say said, my dad works for the State Board of Pardons and Paroles. We never see eye to eye on this subject. I can see that. I can see that. Protect victims' rights. Ensure the opportunity for victims to make victim impact statements. Consider forms of restitution to victims. Thoughtful, carefully considered pew-pew control, such as is contained in the Brady Bill. In Washington, they paid workers from 42 cents to $1.50 an hour. Oof. That is a lot. So we have like 2 more to go over, and then I'm going to open a panel so we can talk about these things. In the Raw on Rugs, that's redirect funds presently budgeted for the Raw on Rugs toward expanded research, education, counseling, and treatment. Amend the Controlled Substance Act to reflect the rug use in itself is not a crime, and that persons living in the U.S. arrested for using rugs should not be incarcerated with those who have committed victim-oriented crimes. Legalize possession, sale, and cultivation of Mary Jane. I'm just going to say Mary Jane. Strike from the record prior felony convictions for Mary Jane possession, sale, or cultivation. Grant amnesty and release from confinement without any further parole or probation those who have been incarcerated for the use, sale, or cultivation of MJ, Mary Jane, in federal and state prisons and in county, city jails, and who otherwise are without conviction for victim-oriented crimes or who do not require treatment for abuse of hard rugs. Provide the option for rug treatment to those leaving confinement. You know, some guy is getting out of office, and he recently pardoned his son who had some crime charges for rugs. And my thoughts on that is, if you can pardon your child for that, you can pardon non-violent criminals who had rug possession or use but no sales or anything like that. That is worth something going out of office with the bang with, because what they're doing right now is really just giving their friends a leg up instead of doing the real justice, which is taking those people who didn't do these things into account. It was not a non-violent crime, and they should not have to be serving for these things if you're going to pardon your son for something of the same manner. Implement a step-by-step program to decriminalize all rugs in the U.S. Legalize, I'm going to try to say the word. No, I'm not. Psilocybin mushrooms and other ethnogenic substances that have been found to have therapeutic benefits and low medical risks for responsible adult users. Okay. And this is the last one. Police accountability. Due to current conditions, when it comes to policing the cities and people, police officers are the 6th leading cause of unalivement for young men in America. More commonly, the greatest lives that are at stake are those of our Black, brown, 2S, LGBTQIA+, and disabled, including those with mental health issues. When it comes to crimes against persons at the hand of the police in accordance, we recommend the following actions. So, yeah, again, before I go into that, when Luigi arrived in New York, he had a haircut. And it was like everybody in America learned that that haircut was a signal to the guards to say, hey, we like this guy. This guy's protected. Don't mess with him. And everybody was like, oh, that's cool. That's cool that they did that. You know, he's going to be okay. He's going to be okay. But my thought is, why does that even have to take place? Because There should be no, oh, so the guards won't mess with them. The guards shouldn't be doing that in the first place. So that was my thought. I'm happy that, he is being looked after, but I'm also saddened that it is something that has to be done. So what they recommended are the following actions. Police require all police officers to carry personal liability insurance as a requirement to working on the police force. Doctors have to do it. I don't see why police shouldn't have to do it. That the insurance will act as a mechanism by which we can have officers with histories of brutality and misconduct removed from duty, thereby keeping that person from committing crimes under the protection of the police department. This function through the insurance company, which will increase premiums and eventually determine that rogue officers are uninsurable. Absolutely say, stop cop cities. Serve as a deterrent to officers taking actions that could result in a complaint against them, as this could cause a premium increase for the officer. Prevent the taxpayer from having to foot the bill for police brutality cases, which cost taxpayers millions of dollars. Said this several times. I don't feel like they should be rewarded for their crimes by not having to pay for what they did. Establish a national database to record excessive force complaints to be used in higher decisions of police officers. And then the final thing we had is establish community control of police through elected local police oversight boards with subpoena power to investigate complaints about police behavior and hold offending officers accountable. These boards will be empowered to hire and fire police officers and chiefs. So we have gone through section 2, part H for criminal justice, what our position is, and the green solutions. Now, if anybody knows, when we're talking about what we're doing as far as how we're different from the Green Party, the reason that we're going through these platforms and talking about how they affect us in real life is because we see how damaging not only the healthcare system has been, but the labor system has been. And now we're talking about criminal justice. There was a labor strike happening. So a lot of you may know that, and I posted it, about the Amazon work strike for the unions, the Amazon Teamsters. They are striking at this point in time. So on Saturday, they had some people out there, and some people got arrested. They were arrested for trespassing, and they said that, Amazon didn't want them on their property. And what one of the union members was saying was that they pick and choose who they want to have on the property, so it seems very out of place. Food deliveries come all the time, family members, friends, they have all types of people that are in the property, but because these people were helping with the union members, they were getting arrested and trespassed from the property. So they have to go to court now, and we've seen that a lot. So this is where these things are often intersecting with each other. I can't remember her name off the top of my head, but I know one of the union organizers. I met her this Juneteenth at an event at the Fruit of the Labor. And when I met her, she is going through a cancer battle. So she had a GoFundMe account, which I'll probably put up if I can later on. So she had a GoFundMe account for going through her cancer battle. And I'm like, so you have a full-time job. She is an elderly woman, but her health insurance is not covering her treatment that she needs. That was odd to me, knowing that she worked at Amazon. So you have bad health care. Okay, and then you have someone trying to unionize and get things a better working environment, and now okay, and then you have someone trying to unionize and get things a better working environment, and now while and Republicans, which I effectively call the uniparty, whether it be the libertarians or any of the other parties that you say or think are doing something or you're leaning towards, go look at their platforms, go look and see how that applies to you. And if it doesn't apply, let it fly. Don't go there. If you are anti-penalty, then why would you continue to vote in a party that supports it? You have other parties that are there available to you. Luckily, the Green Party is one of those. And when we start to vote for our interests, when we start to vote for our values, we get what we want. And we know that because we do have Green Party members in office who are doing the good work of getting what we want. But we need it on a more local, state, and national base. And this is why we're doing this. We're spilling the tea about how these things affect us on our day-to-day lives, how they're interconnected, and what we can do to make things better. Thank you so much, Say. Love to hear your comments, your questions. I'll take any questions that anybody else has. So if you want to come on up, that is fine by me. But we're just going to continue the conversation as is too. Thank you guys so very much. And just again, so you guys know, I don't cash out anything that I get. I do go into lives, such as the 2 lives I've been going into the most are Justin. He goes on from 10 p.m. until some nights, like I've been in with them almost 1 o'clock in the morning. And then Barefoot Islander, she has a live. She does lives in the morning, which most of the time I'm at work or sleeping and really can't get to or something like that. But those are the 2 lives. Oh, and Shaky also has a live that Shaky goes to and does work. So those are the 3 lives that I go into, and whatever gifts I get, I donate back to families. So if you don't know about Justin, if you don't know about Barefoot Islander, and if you don't know about Shaky, I'll try to do a video about each one of them and tag them in it so you guys can like, share, and follow them, because it's very important that we support them in the causes that they're trying to do, and continue to support the families. So with the criminal justice reform, I had a incident myself, and I had never had an incident. I'm trying not to really speak too much on it or where it was, but I did have an incident myself, and it was handled very badly, and I really felt that it didn't have to go that way. I really felt the color of my skin made it a lot worse, and I was sad, hurt, and angry. And the way that I was handled, it was just like I never had that encounter in my life. So criminal justice system, I can say from personal experience, needs to be reformed. Surviving says Sharuk, Rasha, and God are all amazing Palestinian lives as well. That is awesome. So, you know, I'll try to do probably just one video and get all of the creators that do lives and help families. I can do that, and yeah, I think that'll work. Just send that information to me on Discord, Surviving, so I can make sure I get that done. Because there are some times, even when Say What is doing his book club, and Say What has an awesome book club. If you don't know about it, it's on Saturdays at 12 p.m. and sometimes when families come in, Say What will definitely allow them to come up, and we're reading the 100-Year Raw on Palestine, and it's very good. I had to get the audiobook because my brain works in audiobook waves. But I did get the book, and Say What has been doing a great job keeping up with everything, and it is really appreciated because people come in and get knowledge and they learn. And we did go through a rough spot but in that chapter, but you know, we keep pushing and we keep going. So I really do thank Say for doing that for us. The book club is amazing, and he also does music. So he also does music and has different types of music going on. So if you're not following Say, please make sure you're following him. So wonderful, so amazing. We have so many things that we're trying to do to give that education to people, or just help people in general. And if we're working together to do these things, we'll get it done. Survivor said, and we get out of our comfort zones. If you need help, come join. Absolutely. It does help us get out of our comfort zones. I'm not much of a social media person. I'm really not. So, and I have to do a lot better with education to be out there. I want it to be available. So I do download my lives and I share them on the YouTube channel, so that you can go over there and watch them as well, since it is a long format. And if anything happens, I'll be on IG and YouTube, so you know where to find me. All you gotta do is look for that green body D and you'll see me. Also, I have the link in my bio, so that link has everywhere I'm at, and it also still does have the information for our friend Peace Rocks. I know it's the holidays, and we are all trying to survive in this holiday season, especially with inflation, but a dollar goes a long way sometimes. So if you could, that would be very wonderful. And that was another thing, she had to deal with the criminal justice system as well. We don't realize how many people in our lives deal with the criminal justice system until it's too late. Until something happens to them and we're like, where did you go? Oh, I was incarcerated for a while. Oh my goodness. So many people that shouldn't have to be going through things. And I'm going to talk about North Carolina again because I live here. So one of the tribes opened up a dispensary in North Carolina. So it's legal for them to grow and do anything and sell Mary Jane. Great, right? Well, it's not legal in North Carolina at all for use or anything. Now, I think there's that, the letter C, and then the letter before that, I think the letter before that is a B, and then the letter after the C is a D, so that they do have that here, but at a certain strength. It's not really the best. But with the opening of it, people were like afraid, or like the cops gonna be sitting out of the road and waiting for you to leave from the tribal area, knowing what you went there for. We don't have no medical here, absolutely no medical, nothing at all, nothing. It's just no. You have to remember, we're living in the Bible Belt down here, so in the Bible Belt it's just like it's tough. That's why if you see, you kind of get from, when you're on the East Coast, from Florida on up, you can kind of tell where the Bible Belt is and when things start switching. So if you look at South Carolina, I got a restriction from the For You page for my live for whatever reason, I'm not sure. So I'm not sure. It didn't even say for what. It just said I'm restricted from the live. It's from searching. You can't search me or see me on the For You page. Yeah, so it's weird. I didn't even say anything. Yep, I got a restriction. It says live visibility restricted. Your live is not eligible for recommendation and restricted in search results because your live does not comply with the For You feed eligibility standards under our community guidelines. Reason: discussing drugs or other regulated substances. Wow. I said rugs the whole time. So I'm just like, what? It makes no sense. But it is what it is. We were talking about treatment, you know. So I'm okay with that. Anyway, we'll keep moving forward. That's another thing. Now, it's not so much criminal justice involved, but the TikTok ban that's going into place. That is a part of our criminal justice system. That is a part of our freedom of speech. And with that happening, we are waiting to see how everything is going to work. I was watching some information about it, and there are 3 things that could happen. The Supreme Court could say, we're going to keep it in place and leave it as is. Or the Supreme Court could say, you can't do that, that's unconstitutional. Or, and this is all before January 10th, because January 10th is when they're actually going to hear the oral arguments. So both sides are presenting their written arguments, and then they're going to have oral arguments on the 10th. So they can decide before the 10th, yes, we're going to keep the law as it is good. No, we're going to reverse it, it's unconstitutional. Or they can decide, we want to hear the arguments further, so we're going to stop the ban until we've made a decision. So what they have done is basically say that we as a people are getting information from foreign entities that can influence us. And it's funny to me. Yes, talking about that, I think that's what it probably was. It's funny to me how we talk about government interference in other places. And we know that there are government interference everywhere. How much more of governmental interference can you be than having military bases in other countries when there are no military bases in your own? That's kind of suspect. Or sus, as the kids would say. I say kids, you know. Yes, it's giving. We don't want to do what we say you should do. Do as I say, not as I do. So we know that they have been responsible for coups and toppling other governments. Goodness gracious, I'm probably gonna get more than restricted tonight. We'll see. But we know that this is the case and what they're doing. So it's plausible for them to say, oh, well, we don't want another foreign country doing that when you're doing that over other places. And then not only that, but it's not like Meta, X, or any of our other social media platforms aren't doing the exact same thing. And how do we know, even though they're based in the US, that they are not selling our information to any other countries? Right, for real, to protect our interests? Nope, just for more resource plundering. Absolutely surviving. How are they protecting our interests? How are they protecting our identities? I mean, how many of you have probably gotten an alert that your social or your email or something has been breached? We just got that alert about our phones being breached, and we shouldn't use things like text messaging. We should use something like a secure backup like Signal or WhatsApp. I'm like, why would I use WhatsApp? That's Meta, and they would have all my information. That is in no way possible to be secure. And not only Facebook get hacked all the time, surviving, they found that Facebook was giving private messages to Netflix, and Netflix was making movies off of them. I was like, are you kidding me? And I was like, maybe I should go back and watch some Netflix movies and see if they made a movie about my life, because it can't be that they were doing these things. And then you wonder, like, how are you saying this foreign government is doing something that your own government is doing? Yes, you can definitely Google that. Netflix was getting information from Facebook Messenger, and they were making things off of it. Google it. It blew my mind too. Yes, just colonialism, the most important Western value we are protecting. Exactly. And I think that's why it's not real. That's why it's not real is a huge part of what we're doing in our but our criminal justice. Injustice, that's what I'm going to call it. Because as we talked about, I think Say brought up cop cities earlier, it's like the IOF or people who are there are the ones training people in cop cities. These are two colonist countries, basically. They took and stole land from indigenous people and made their place. So now they're working together to police any minorities or indigenous people. Koya, is it just us four? Probably. Since I got restricted from the For You page. Yep, restricted still up. Oh, well, somebody else just came in, but they might have left. Oh, that's Cosmo. Hey, Cosmo. Thank you so much. Thank you. We're here talking about some criminal justice. If you want to come up and ask a question or anything, you are more than welcome to. Oh, hey, Peace. Peace Rocks is here. Thank you so much for coming in. We talked about you earlier, too. I am shadow banned. They don't like what I talk about because it's Green Party stuff, and so, you know, it happens that way. It definitely happens that way. But we did have some people in here earlier asking questions, and I was really hoping that they were asking out of good faith, because one of them was about, you know, Jill and her sitting down with Putin and, you know, where the Green Party gets their money from. So I did hope that they were asking in good faith, because, you know, some people are disruptors, but some people generally do want to know. Some people generally do want to know, and it's good that they get the information, or at least we give them the place there they can find it. You can lead them to the conclusion, but you can't make them do anything that they don't want to do. I just sent her an invite to come on up.
A little bit, yeah. So be quiet, don't say
Hey,
nothing.
Grace.
We're live. Hey,
No,
how
she
are
won't
y'all?
let me.
Sorry, it's kind of loud in
Hi.
here. How
No
are y'all?
problem. We're good. We're happy to see you, well, hear you, and
Oh,
have you
thank you
around.
guys. Oh, I love you guys.
We love you so much. We're glad
Thank
you're
you so
here.
much.
Yes, thank you
And thank you guys
guys.
for all
Y'all
the
are so
money and
awesome.
support.
Yeah,
Thank you so much.
Yes, you're welcome.
thank you.
Awesome. Thank you.
God loves
We've
you
been
so
talking
much.
about you. Oh, thank you guys. This
Yeah.
is very wonderful. And this is what we've been talking about, solidarity with our people. And if you're not following Peace, please do. She is always talking about Green Party, and she is doing so much, and she is really working to get back on her feet. And as much as we can do to help her out, her link is in her bio. It's also in my bio. Go ahead and help out as much as possible. Thank you guys. Y'all are so awesome. How are you doing tonight?
We're all right. We're just hanging out in our tent. I mean, it's not too cold outside, fortunately. Either tonight or tomorrow night it's gonna rain, so that's gonna not be so fun. But we'll survive, you know. Um, how are y'all?
Doing okay. Doing just fine. Trying to just make it through these next few weeks to the new year.
I was our side. Yeah. But you can eat out of it too and just share with your
Yeah, he
guys.
can have whatever.
I know he's a kid. But I need to
Absolutely.
eat too. I want to eat too.
Yeah, I know. Y'all, we all
Just so
share.
glad to have you here.
Me and Breezy always share, baby.
We always share. All of us out here. That's one thing about being on the streets is you realize that everybody on the streets, they all like have each other's back. You know, there's some bad seeds that don't stay around though. You know, because yeah, I mean, obviously, I've talked to you guys about like I've had 3 phones stolen within like a month's span. So there's some bad seeds, but you know, a lot of us are have each other's back. You know what I mean?
Right. And it's important
And
that we
that's how
keep
it should
continue to
be.
talk about it. As I see like in some of your videos how, and this is one of the things that bothers me the most, as in some of the videos people are talking down to her, like, do this and do that, but they don't even know how she got there. They didn't take the time to look where she was working at and what happened and what led to this and what she's been doing. And it's very discouraging and disrespectful when people do things like that. But with
It's
with
like
go ahead.
yeah, I appreciate that. Like, I appreciate you saying that. And sorry about Aaron's coughing.
COPD.
Okay. Um. Oh gosh, what were we saying? Oh yeah, it's like my story. It goes deep. You know what I mean? And it's people don't realize that they just see one thing and then they just speak on it. You know. And I mean, I guess we're all guilty of it or have been at some point in our lives. You know, just uh, being prejudiced. Really, that's it. You know, some people are prejudiced towards homeless people, and it's unfortunate.
Keep talking, bro.
And sometimes, it's good to educate them about everything, all of our systems. Because that's what leads to homelessness. And it's so difficult because some people are so like literally like brainwashed. They're so indoctrinated. They've been given so much lies from the moment they were born that
Like me.
Yeah, everyone,
No, but
especially
me,
in
I didn't know I
America.
was the prince of fucking Antarctica for the longest time. My whole life was a lie, It's sad.
Yeah. um yeah, and that's why I mean I always try to educate people that are ignorant like that. And I had to unfortunately block this girl that I went to high school with, Ari. I replied to her many times, trying to be kind and educating her, and she has just done nothing but just spread hate to me. So I did last week finally block her after months of her degrading me and just treating me, poorly in my comments. And so I finally blocked her. Some people I just, I guess, I can't reach. You know what I mean?
I have no tolerance for that either. I get really upset. It's just in my nature.
Yeah.
Sorry to keep you guys off topic.
No.
And that's hard to hear, definitely, because if we know in this economy that we're going through, everybody is, except for the 1%, is just like one issue away from being homeless, one missed paycheck away from being homeless, or whatever the situation may be, from being homeless. And now that, it's almost like they have a ability to criminalize homelessness. Like, yeah, one emergency away. You can now criminalize homelessness. So it's like, okay,
Yeah, they're just literally trying to, keep us enslaved. But and it's crazy that the law is literally our laws are literally breaking international laws. Like it blows my mind, and people are just so ignorant and unwilling to accept the truth. It feels like a lot of the times, especially in the court systems. I mean, I guess they're just, I don't know, blinded by the money. You know what I mean?
I would like to say something, about this whole thing. Like, they took my wife's home. I seen the video, and it broke my heart. They knocked my wife's teeth out. And I feel bad every day because I wasn't there to be able to protect her, and I just got out doing a long time, guys. And I have a history, a past, but God saved me from that, guys. And I think homelessness is we're getting targeted because we're misunderstood as human beings. Like, we're humans too, and look, I'm wearing nice clothes from people that support us. Through them and you guys, we wouldn't have sometimes the funding that we have. So we want to let you guys know, as her husband, thank you guys very much.
And it's crazy because a majority of the homeless people, they have, like I've told you guys before, some sort of disability, be it physical or mental, both. And more than half of them don't even get their benefits. They've been denied them, or they're unable to apply for them themselves. So, and nobody is bothered assisting them and with the applications, or doing the initiative to even apply. You know what I mean? Giving them the support. Anyway, so. Yeah, I just found that crazy whenever, I first came out here. I'm like, oh, everyone is disabled here? Well, at least I fit in, you know what I mean?
mm-hmm. It's a lot. And it's unfortunately not changing. And I think Amani talks about it. Amani Barbridge talks about it on Crutches and Spice. That's only going to get worse. And when we're looking at things, we should always look at what's going on in the disabled community to see long term what's going to be going on with us. And she has been right on all accounts. Like, they privatized prison, and then they started privatizing mental health care facilities. So those are two of the places where you'll see people with disabilities at. That's where you will
Absolutely
see
correct.
them. And being homeless should not be thought of as a crime to go to prison for, because that's not helping the situation.
Yeah. I mean, it's so dystopian, and
It's
that's
not.
that's the reality right now. Like, I mean, no human should even be homeless. I mean, how sick, we have the resources, and there's just these few that unfortunately people idolize. And that's a lot of the issue, I think. And I mean, but some people are very stubborn, especially when it comes to Donald Trump for some weird reason. I don't know, especially when it comes to that man, and I don't understand it. But yeah, there's still some people that are like, how do I break that I don't know, the way they idolize him. How do I break that spell? Or I don't know what else to call it. You know what I mean?
Mm-hmm. Cult mentality.
Yeah.
It's very much a cult
Some
mentality, but
people
it's on both sides of the
would
aisle,
rather.
really.
Right. Well, some people I come across, they don't even care to listen to the truth. They're just comfortable in their ignorance, and prefer to be blind. And I'll never understand that either. You know. I guess
Right.
still I don't know, because I'm a type of person that uh I crave knowledge. I like to know stuff. I like to know, and so I research. But there's some people are just they literally don't care to know.
They're comfortable.
They would just be
And as
rather.
long as they're comfortable, they,
Right.
they don't care. Cosmo
Right.
said the system is
Exactly.
working as planned, keeping us sick, divided, and desperate so that we can be fodder for the prison
Yeah.
system. Yeah, that's basically what it is. Because if we think about it, America was built on enslavement, and when you go into the prison systems, it that is what happens. And it makes me really sad when we see these things, because you have people who are loaned out from the prisons to go work at corporations, and they're on the prisons that used to be plantations, and they're growing vegetables and things like that. And you have firefighters, these people who are firefighters, and they're doing this to help decrease their time. And then when their time is up and they go out into the world, oh no, you were a prisoner, you can't do these jobs. But if I can do them while I was in prison, why wouldn't I be able to do them once I get home? That doesn't make sense. It's
Right.
So you're right. It is for us to be in that prison system, you know?
Yeah. Hey, someone's need to listen to talk. You know, I need to get a minute. Okay. All right, let me. There's a.
Oh, I wasn't sure if he was talking. But it is a prison system that we can definitely reform. And with doing so, that means putting people in places where those things can get started. But we don't have to necessarily vote for people, and wait for that to happen. Um, there are there are organizations that are around you right now that you can join to be a part of. There's a Stop Cop City in Durham, and they actually did. They stopped Cop City from being there and got some mental health. Um, they got some mental health programs set up to help with things that were going on, and they're continuing to build that. And it's an organization. Um, I think it's just called Stop Cop City Durham or something like that. Um, but if you look around you, you don't always have to start something. You could just be a part of something in your community and get to learn people that are in your community fighting for some of the same things that you're fighting for, and then talk to them about how we can do better. And that's why we're talking about the platforms here now, because knowing what the platforms are, do you agree with them? Do you say, hey, I would rather see us have an educated population, have a population that is getting mental health care, have a population that is not being imprisoned for use, but rather being rehabilitated and getting the mental health care that they need. I would rather see people not being homeless or being criminalized for being homeless. I would rather see people be able to get the health care that they needed without paying so much out of pocket for everything, or being denied coverage because someone said they didn't see the value in that particular method of treatment. So when we're talking about these things, it doesn't have to necessarily be a big event. It can be a one-on-one conversation. There might not be a lot of people in this room right now, but when you go off and you talk to somebody, now you have some education to move forward with, and people can come back and they can watch the video later as well, or the highlights or anything like that, and they can see, oh, this is something that I really want. Why isn't this other party talking about it? Much less, why aren't they being about it? Because talk is cheap. So if you've been waiting and waiting and waiting for something to happen and it's not happening, then all you're doing is continuing to vote for a mouthpiece that doesn't have anything to back it up. They are writing checks that they can't cash. Why would you want to do that? It's I'm not going to say that word because it is derogatory, but it's like doing the same thing over and over again and expecting a different result. It's disturbing. At some point in time, we have to collectively say, we are not going to stand for it anymore because we don't have any other way to live anymore. Our lives are being thoroughly impacted by just these three things. We haven't even talked about a lot of the things on the platform. We've just talked about healthcare, labor, and criminal justice so far. And just those three
Right.
things, we can see how they deeply affect us.
Yeah, like the phrase, it's all political. I mean, it literally is. It's all political. Everything, every aspect of our lives, all of us collectively, it's all political.
Yeah.
And sorry about the background noise,
No,
dude.
you're fine.
And I put it on mute because someone came to the and apologized for last night because they were like yelling. It was like 1 o'clock in the morning, and I was like, and I got up. I was like, why? Anyway, that was nice of them to come and apologize, and I was like, oh, I'm sorry for coming at you sideways too. You just woke me up at 1 o'clock in the morning, you know. So anyway, that was nice.
Yeah.
Survivor says they only care about their money. We need to end the flow. Absolutely. That's part of the
And
capitalist system.
yeah, and I feel like that's what Luigi Mangione. He began, and honestly, like who's gonna follow suit? I mean, I hate to say it, but I mean, are we responsible for that? You know what I mean? Um, you know, and I don't know if I personally can do it, but there's people I met that would definitely do it in the sake of humanity. You know what I mean? I mean, like I said, I hate to say it, but you know, it's more than an eye for an eye. It's like an eye for what, like a million eyes. You
Right.
know what I mean?
Hmm. It
So,
is. I completely understand. You go through um, so much with these systems, and where does the frustration end? Like, you say, okay, don't do these different things, go protest or go do something else quieter. So you protest quietly, and then they arrest you for protesting quietly.
yeah, and then it's not like a peaceful arrest either. I mean, they're very aggressive. These cops are. I mean, they are trained to be extremely aggressive. And it's unfortunate. It's the unfortunate truth. They are taught to be aggressive towards us,
It's
and
like
I
they
would
don't see the
look at it that
humanity.
way.
Yet
Yeah.
Survive and said, study the housing banking crisis of 2008. We don't pay rent equals they can't pay bank equals bank fail equals government has to change and save economy. Yeah, and Cosmo said every so often the tree of liberty must be watered with the I don't know if I can say that word. I'm already restricted of deliverance.
Right.
It does. I saw something like that. It was a guy. He had an axe in his hand and he was chopping down a tree, and there was all types of red stuff dripping off the tree, and it was going into the ground of the roots of the tree, and then you could see other trees growing out from there. And I thought that kind of resembles the resistance. How you can try to knock us down and take us out. However, every single one that you do that to, you're only birthing more. So You see that everywhere. Um, and while we're all nonviolent, um, and the Green Party platform doesn't have any violence in it whatsoever, I think what happened shook the world. And it's going to be interesting following this case because just with the perp walk they did, again, talking about what we started talking about from the beginning, just from the perp walk that they did, um, that was bad enough because you're going to have to try him in a criminal court with a jury. And when you try him in this criminal court with the jury, you have to expect that they're either A, not going to be on his side, B, be neutral, or C, have never heard about it before. I don't think that's going to, happen as well as they think it's going to happen. He probably would have had a better chance staying where he was and being tried versus being extradited. And even though they can't fully do the case there, it's like, because they couldn't get done the case there. And I understand he did have to get extradited back for some things, but it's going to be hard to find an impartial jury. Because the thing about it is, even though he is a rich, affluent, YT male, he is also relatable. He is, to some people, they say nice to look at. And then he did something that a lot of us probably, were like, man, I just, but we weren't going to do it. But it's a frustration about the healthcare system. And we all can share those frustrations. Cosmo says, I'm peaceful, and to be peaceful, you must be capable of great violence. Yeah. Survivor says the jury pool is the working class, and the working class loves him. Absolutely. Cosmo also says, if you're not capable of great violence, then you're harmless, and there's a huge difference. Yes. Now, at the Green Party, we do believe in nonviolence. However, there are limits to that. Like, we're not gonna, if you're gonna punch me in the face a bunch of times, I'm not just gonna sit there and take it. I'm not giving the other cheek, I'm peaceful, like Kaza was saying, but so as long as you keep your paws to yourself, I'm gonna keep mine to myself. That's where the nonviolence part is. It's like we can have a peaceful discussion as the adults that we are supposed to be, the powerful leaders that we are supposed to be, without escalating to violence on innocent people. Because that's where things get shaky, spooky, hilarious. That's from a song. But and it does get hilarious because after a while it's hysterical. You sometimes you have to laugh, do an hysterical laugh, because you're just like, how long have we been going through this with It's Not Real and Palestine? It's almost laughable at this point in time to know, like, how many times have I called my senator's or congressman's office? How many times did I email? How many times did I fax? How many times was I signing a petition? How many times have I done this? And they just, almost all of them got reelected or whatever the case may be. So they're not going to change how they did anything because, they feel they have a moratorium on how they've been acting because you elected them again. So, it's just like hilarious. After this point, I'm like, how do you expect anything to stop and change? Cosmo says, I was raised by don't start nothing, won't be nothing principle. Yeah, basically. Tupac says it really great. I'm not an unaliver, but don't push me. Yeah. Yeah. I think we all have that. And I think they're going to have a hard time not calling it a crime of passion. And the T word crimes that they're charging him with, I don't see those going much anywhere, because and I was reading a few things about this. Now, when you just have a regular unaliving charge, you got a lot of iffy ways that you can get out of an unaliving charge, but you're more likely to be found guilty when you throw the T word charges in there. So um, they're going to have a hard time proving that it was T word adjacent because no one was scared. If you look at it, we were all like, yay. So who was scared? Only people that were scared were the people who possibly should have been scared, because there were rumblings in people's tummy about eating the rich. They started getting hungry. But that is not T-word activity. What's being done to the people is T-word activity. CEOs, colonizers, enslavers, and oppressors. Exactly. All those people have been doing the oppressing and been doing the things to make people be like, man, man, man. So we tried it the peaceful way. What do you want? We weren't scared. Right, the elite. We weren't scared. I don't know any of my friends who were scared or anything. Right, Cosmo. Cosmo said, just remember, Nelson Mandela was a T person and the Black Panthers were a T group. Absolutely. Even though they were just trying to give breakfast to children to go to school. They were trying to do things in a peaceful manner. It's just like, wow. But BB and the Triple Ks have never been. And it's funny that they're not classified as a T group. I think at one point in time they were, but I think they got taken off. I don't really know, but they should be. They should be if they aren't. That's definitely T group activity. And with the charges that Satan Yahoo has on him, and I think that at some point, what he's doing, what Is Not Real is doing, it needs to stop. Because my thinking, and I was in another live, people were talking about this. If you're a taxpayer and you're using your tax money to give to these armaments for our country to give to another country who is committing a G-side, would we not be criminally capable in the international court? And a lawyer was trying to break it down. And basically, it depended on the court. There is no legal precedence for it. Could be because of the intentions of some people. So, say for instance, the people that were like, yeah, go Is Not Real, they could be found criminally liable, because that's, even though we all have to pay taxes, because that is a part of our legal system, well, our tax system, actively wanting and cheering on a G-side and paying those taxes, you could be found criminally capable. But for those who weren't, who stopped paying taxes due to that, who maybe paid their taxes but were doing other things to make reparations for that. And I'm going to say reparations for that because basically a lot of times that's what we're doing. When we're going into these lives and we're giving to families, we're basically paying reparations for our tax dollars. I mean, I don't know another word to say than that, but we are basically saying, hey, I know my tax dollars did you wrong, and I'm going to try to make it right. And if that's not a reparation, I'm not sure what is. But that's personal. That's a personal reparation from one individual to a family or things like that. The government itself has to do that reparation part as well. And we know where that reparation is going to come from, our tax dollars again. Just like we found out recently that while we were only getting $1,200 during the panorama, the check here and a check there were rap artists getting millions of dollars and having luxury shows, buying houses and doing all types of stuff paid for with our tax dollars. And do you think anything's going to happen to them? My mind was blown. The criminal justice system does not work for the working class. It's just like, oh, well, y'all took our money, but so did the senators, so we really can't take you down. Because if we took you down, we'd have to take these senators down for the same thing. Even though y'all are rappers, I mean, we can't do anything to y'all unless we do something to them. So it's like, are we living in a time warp? And it's almost, I will say it's almost scary to think about the thought of being tried in criminal court for something that you had no control over. But it's also comforting to know that we do have ways to do that mutual aid and to try to help do our part in that reparations, because regardless how it goes, it's going to come from our pockets anyway. Definitely coming from our pockets. So, in the end, our criminal justice system goes very far. It reaches many people. It touches many families. Even the employees that work there in those systems, some of them are bad apples, and then some of them, they're trying to unionize and do things because they know that things are not right. Their working conditions aren't right. And so half the time they're upset because, you're having to watch over 50 people, but you're only supposed to watch over 15. So they're already upset going to work with the unfair conditions that they work in. When there's a natural disaster, are they even getting taken care of when they are trying to get people out of these prisons? One of the things I hate the most is solitary confinement. Like, that alone, if you already have mental health issues, will not help you. Especially with being in solitary confinement for long periods of time. I wouldn't even, if anybody had to be in solitary confinement, I wouldn't even do it for more than 4 hours, because that's a lot if you think about it. That'll just give you time to calm down, but it doesn't have to be very bad, and you're going to calm down. You're just going to, have a personal time out to talk to you, settle with yourself, but not for years at a time. That's disheartening. And all of these things really just keep playing back into each other. And we wonder, okay, when are we going to start doing things about it? Well, a lot of 90 days is supposed to be the max. Yeah, but they don't do that, unfortunately, because I'm surviving. Not all places anyway. So one of the things, and we're going to keep talking about it every single time, if you have not connected with your local state Green Party, please make sure you are doing so. We have some members in here that were able to connect with their local Green Party, and they were put on some committees. I'm just not going to put it all, your information out there like that, but it's so proud of you. So reach out to your local Green Parties, see what's going on, see how you can get involved, something that you're interested in. Thank you, Peace. You don't have to do that. Um, so you're definitely having that time where you get involved because, again, it's not just about being in office. Being in office is one part of it. Okay. Having the support in the community, letting people know that we are here, we are doing things, doing the work of education, political education, all these types of things is how we get to say, okay, this is where we're going to next. This is what we want to do. Um, so the next two things that we're going to be talking about is population and housing and homelessness. That's what we're going to be talking about next week. And as you can see, all of these things are like going into the same areas. Oh, peace, you deserve so much more. I'm sending you something. Um, so you didn't have to do that. But there is, so that's what we're going to be talking about. We're going to be talking about population, housing, and homelessness next week, because these things continuously are popping up, and they are like, it's intersectional. Education, agitation, and organization. Cosmo, I like it. I wish I was like education, agitation, and I was like, could that be a T somewhere? Because that would just say eat, and then we could just call it the Eat the Rich campaign. That's what I was thinking about, because that would be adorable. But I'm here with that too. Education, agitation, and organization. Absolutely. We have to do that as well. Get out there, boots on the ground. And if you can't put your boots on the ground, go to Peace Rock's page. She does so much better at this than I will ever be able to do. She has videos almost every day, and she's talking about this stuff all the time, and it's absolutely amazing. It's okay. We love you too. We love you so much. Um, so we're gonna keep talking about these things because we want people to know where the Green Party is, where we stand, how it affects your life, what we can do in helping you, and spill the tea about things that are going on everywhere else. So if you have something going on in your state, and you want me to know about it and post about it, please hit my link in my bio, and you can either email me the information or you can send it in a DM, and I will definitely put that information up on my page. So Cosmo, no, we love you. So I will definitely boost that information out there, because I want everybody to be able to have whatever's going on from across any states to be able to be pushed out so that people will know about it. And I want to be that person to actually help with that, because we're spilling the tea over here. So as we have had our best green tea tonight, I just want to thank you all for being here. Special thanks to Peace Rocks for coming in, Cosmo, surviving, I'm sorry, Cosmo, surviving, and say thank you all. And I'm sorry, I'm just going through everybody. I know, oh my gosh. Who else was in here? Yeah, Koya was here. Yes. Thank you all so much for being here. And thank you to the people who were here earlier asking questions, and I got to answer some questions for you. I hope that was informational and educational, and you all have done such a great job supporting me. I really do thank you and love you all for that. So I will see you all next Sunday, same place, same time, 6 p.m. And surviving, I'm going to challenge you to make me do a video this week. I thank you all again. Have a great night, and I will see y'all probably later on Justin's Live or something. Bye. Thank you.